on ult tracking and shit. Soldier and Reaper, pog. We just need a Torb too.
Sorry, I'm already on the third feed killer too.
Dude, Hammond is like my least feed hero, honestly.
Yeah, you don't feed a lot with him actually.
Dude, it's hard to die on Hammond, honestly, unless
So,
they have a bunch of unless they have ghosts.
CheesyLeech is
where we have to go?
Nihil.
Left.
Left.
Don't walk off.
Don't walk off
the map.
Don't walk off the map.
Do it.
You're right, boys.
Call shield bash Cheesy so you can get Discord and hook.
Not here. Good. All right, crouch. No.
Oh, I don't need to. I'm Zen. I can't rip. Oh, I
Good, let's see, where are you traveling? Okay, so as the red team, you should just be walking in, straight in. There's no reason for you to walk out all around, because if the enemies walk here, they will see you taking a turn, or they will even hear you. And what they can do is, they just speed out, get point for free, point control I mean, or they can fight you. And it's a really unfavorable fight you're taking right here.
Alright, I'm sitting here.
Brawl a little bit.
We should die.
You're fighting in low ground as well versus high ground, and in high ground versus low ground, and this is good if the enemies engage on you, and it's because your healers can just hide and the enemies don't. Keep in mind that when playing with Zen and also versus Zen, you want long fights, and the enemy Zen is actually I'm getting confused by the red and blue color from the last one, but when you're fighting with Zen, you want long fights, and by running all the way around, you don't really get any good discords, or you don't get good discords. You don't have any protection for the Zen, and also it's easy for the enemies to just take better fights than you. Right here, let's see what happens to the Reinhardt here.
Alright, I'm sitting here.
Brawl a little bit.
So your Reinhardt gets discorded.
We should die.
As Reinhardt, you want to avoid using Fire Strike like this because you have everyone in your face. You're standing in the middle of a choke. It's quite different to being if you're the blue Reinhardt, you can use Fire Strike for sure. But if you're the red one, you have to be really careful because it's very narrow space and it's very focused fire here. Since it's only one person, so you have a ton of people shooting at you. But the blue one only has, I don't know, people from this side shooting at him, because anyone who's line of sight here can't shoot the blue Reinhardt.
Oh, we're down.
And as soon as you lose the Reinhardt, you basically lost the fight, so you have to reset.
Shit. Try to back up here. Yeah, it's gonna be hard with these rotations.
I have a Zarya.
Then hooks.
Yeah.
Shit. This comp, we don't have as much heals for the main tank.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of heals.
So
We're not gonna win that.
This isn't unlucky.
Yeah, with this comp, we don't have as much heals for the main tank.
So you should, as the team, or as a team, you should be planning out counters versus Zen goats before you enter the game, because right now you're talking about you don't have heals, or you have heals, and you can see the enemy Reinhardt here. He's running left and right and just swinging. You're wasting time, and it's really precious time you're giving to the enemies for free here. Instead, you should have full focus on how to break the next choke. Either you go this side, which is left side, you go left down, low ground, you can go middle, and you can go right side. But no one is talking about it because you're talking about the heals. So try to shift the focus.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of heals. Not even though, so we can't just like go.
And also you're playing with Rodag now instead of Zarya, which means that you're automatically gonna lose the fights. Unless you hook Zen without getting any damage on yourself.
Oh.
You really need the Zarya bubbles.
Let's play around the hook, right? We play around the hook.
Playing around the hook is gonna be difficult here because there's a few reasons. They have a big Reinhardt shield, They have Zarya bubbles and they have a Brig shield. And they also have Diva matrixing if someone gets
Someone
hooked.
or not?
No, not yet. Wait, I'm just breaking shields. Ryan hooked.
There's not really anyone you can kill with the hook.
Right, Discord?
Done,
Nice.
done.
Shield and bubbles.
He's Discord.
The Discord has to come in before the hook, or as Reinhardt is pulled in. Otherwise it's not enough damage.
Get him, get him, get him, get him,
Run,
get him.
run.
Nice,
Ryan dead.
nice. Push on my brick.
I'm dead, I'm dead.
It's totally fine if you trade Ryan for Lucio. Keep going here, keep going. Call a Discord and kill that Discord. Discord target.
Oh, nice, Ryan dead.
Nice, push on my brick.
And as I mentioned before, you want long fights when you're playing Zen Goats. You notice that your Reinhardt is discorded. You can't just ignore that Discord. You have to push up to where, you know, Zen is. If the enemy Reinhardt is dead, they can't really protect the Zen, and he has no escape as well.
Dead, I'm dead.
Break, 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 break,
I know
break.
you, no, 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 no.
Oh,
And this is why it's really hard to win the fight without Zarya, because you can put the bubble on your Reinhardt, heal him up, protect, etc. But with Rodog, you've used hook, and then all you can do is shoot.
yeah, dude.
I'm popping alley. Oh, no.
I'm gonna need this off.
Let's regroup, regroup.
Dude, that we
I'm
forced three
making for you,
spells.
Zen.
No, we forced.
I need this off.
They use grab and trans.
Can you
We
speed?
forced trans too. I'm popping alley. Oh, no.
I'm gonna need this off. Bro, that's winnable. We really.
Forced trans too, I forced trans too.
Let's see.
Back out. Don't go.
Get up.
Let's regroup, regroup.
Dude, that we
I'm
forced three
making for you,
spells.
Zen.
No, we forced.
I need this off.
They use grab and trans.
Can you speed up?
So you've had one fight after the first fight before the blue team got the enemy the point, and it's almost at 60%, which is 2 fights. If you do quick, like not quick like rushed fights, you do quick and clean fights. That's 60%. So you're taking double the time that you should,
Okay,
and get staggered, and it's gonna end up at like 70 or 80% even, and that's the second fight, and that's how important it is to win the first fight on Koth, and how important it is to not waste time, you know, if you're attacking, because it's all about the ults and all about snowballing.
This is pharmacy then here. I think no, we have beat. I'm just gonna do fair without a damage pocket. We'll be fine.
Can I do Ash?
I'll switch after you.
Can I do Ash?
Alright, fine. Go Ash. Go Ash.
I'm letting my
It's way too late to switch comp, in my opinion, because you need the ult charge, and even if it's a good counter, like technically, you have to factor in that they have beat, they might have shatter, and if they shatter one person, let's say that it's your Rhine or your Zarya, your Diva or your Lucio or your Zen, you're losing the fight. If they use beat when let's say that when you use shatter, they can counter with beat. If you use trance, they can counter with their own beat and keep fighting. And just because you have trance or because you have beat, it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to stay alive, because you can kill enemies through the trance.
Yeah, dude. Alright, let's go left.
Alright. I'm speeding.
Sorry,
No.
Discord here.
Hog in goats is yeah, I'm reading chat here. Hog in goats is usually used when you want to have an early fight on payload, for example on route, like UK did versus the US. They run a hog, and it's not meant to win. It's just meant to stall the payload and deny card push and waste a minute, waste 2 minutes even.
Yeah, let's just wait for silent again.
It's automatically gonna lose in the end. It's just that you can stay alive a bit longer.
Okay.
Alright, man, go.
Who's your Discord?
I'm on Zen. I'm breaking Zen armor.
And whoever is spectating, try to select a better angle, because it's really hard to evaluate the performance of your team or what the enemy team are doing when you can't really see everything.
Run.
Focusing right. I'm focusing shield.
They want to stun me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Grims.
We
You're
can
right.
speed
Yeah,
it.
we gotta push, boys.
Speeding?
I hit him a lot with the fire.
Nice. We forced
I
that.
just used the term for simplicity.
Their shield's broken. Oh, do you got a Mac?
Diving Zen.
Shattered them, shattered.
Zen dead. I got Zen.
Break on point. Break.
Come on, baby Diva.
Diva dead.
Break Discord?
Sorry, one.
Break one.
Sorry, one.
Nice. Zarya
Good job
dead.
killing her.
Oh, you dead? Line?
Right? Good.
Nice.
Dead? Okay. Dude.
So now the enemy team, the blue team, they have to just save up ults And you, as the red team, the defending team, you have to win every fight.
Nice pop.
Otherwise, you
I
have
have
lost
maintenance
round.
fight.
First, like if they.
Yep.
And you wanna be proactive and stop this from happening by not taking time in the first fight, or taking too much time when it's 20% or 30%, etc.
They do
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that way you can transfer and then you
They're
can
gonna have grab. They're gonna have grab, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I
trans
will.
if it's grab.
I'm tracking
I'll
Matrix.
try and eat it.
It's just
They're
getting
going
hate.
left side. They're going
Go
left
in
side.
left side.
Try and get a kill here. Like use a Pharah barrage. You basically have to set up a Pharah barrage or something at least, because you need to cycle your ults enough times to buy more time for yourselves. And if they get one kill, like on Diva or on Reinhardt, you're done basically. You're not definitely done, but it's very likely that you're gonna lose the fight.
They wasted.
Nice.
Right gets word. Right me.
I can't get him. I'm
Oh
ulting.
no. I got pinned.
Sorry. It's one
Oh, he's one, dude.
Hold on, just
It's one.
hold on. I need help. Use trends. No, why didn't we use defensive ults? We had two.
That's one.
Then Stark, you needed a counter trans.
So, sorry. So, you don't have to use beat here. You don't have to use trans. Instead, let's see. You can Pharah barrage and matrix the Pharah, and that's it. You discard the Rhine as well, or discard anyone you can. And that's a good way to win the fight here. They can't really kill the Pharah. They can trans, but if you discard, that's gonna go through the trans.
They wasted.
Nice.
Right gets word. Right me.
I can't get him.
And you have to do it really quick because they used ults last fight, and you want to deny them new ults that they might get in this fight if you make it long enough. If they make it long enough.
I'm ulting.
Oh no. I got pinned.
That's alright.
There's Zen trans, use beat for grab.
Grab. Transfer.
Yeah, but
I think
that's
that buff in Discords, if you would have dove him with Winston.
Yeah.
Then
Oh shit! I got a third star.
next time we run Winston Divas.
Yeah, so as I told Lonely Voxel, when playing in a team scrim or tournament, you want to talk about what happened in the last round or in the last map after the scrim. Because if you're playing in a tournament and you have 30 seconds to prepare, that's the wrong time to talk about what happened last round, because it's ruining the focus, lowering the mood, and it's also nothing you can change. Like, there's no major thing that you can change that you couldn't have prepared for. Either it's not enough preparation beforehand, basically if you don't have the time, or if you don't dedicate the time that you have at hand, and you won't be able to make any crazy game plan within a minute or so, and it's easy to get distracted by your own emotions or frustrations, etc. That definitely shows up in tournaments, and you don't want to end up venting on someone or someone venting on you, etc. And just keep everyone focused on what's in front. It's even the voice line of Genji.
Sorry on that map, I think.
Yeah.
And
we'll
like
go to the
Blizzard has intentionally put in these voice lines to try and semi-coach the playbase. I think it's just it doesn't feel like a coincidence, because all these things are referenced in Overwatch
vods we have.
through voice lines, through sprays, etc.
Their Zen was getting so much value, dude. He was farming with Discords, dude.
Yeah, which is fine. We'll be good. That's not a bad loss. They ran something a good comp and they just played around it, and we couldn't figure out how to beat it.
You guys weren't getting the value out of the Roadhog, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work. It worked that first game.
So you don't have to explain, or not you. I don't know who's speaking, but it doesn't matter if it's good or bad or whatever. Even explaining that they had a good comp and beat yours just to rule everything out. What you should say is, let's drop it, let's focus on what's next. And you do it in as few words as possible. I think, let's drop it, focus on the next or whatever. It's like 6 words or 7 words.
I don't know. We'll see. Like all of my hooks just get defense matrix or bubbled, or they just have too much to save them.
Yeah, I think Winston
mean-
Diva Zarya is good there, honestly.
Maybe we play around it differently. Instead of you going for like
Like we play like kind of long range. We wait for.
And it sounded like you wanted to shift away from talking about last round, but then it's really difficult to stop it, you know, if you don't do it not harshly, but you have to make a contrast and make everyone go with you, or not with you specifically, but have some keywords, or make a rule with the team before going in game that if you lose a round, it doesn't matter in the moment because you have enough time to talk about it afterwards. And it's such a
Yeah, but it's a good team.
common thing, like in many teams,
So we
and
have to
something
have- we
that you have to keep training and keep maintaining. And yeah, it's not enough to just say it once.
We'll talk about it after.
Okay, so as soon as the gates open, that's when you decide to talk about it after. And now you're going into a match or a round that you haven't planned for. You're running Pharah, Widow, Mercy, Zen, Winston, Diva. You have no idea what they might run. Let's say that this is a tournament. You're ruining your own chances. And I know this is a lot out of the game information, but I can't stress enough how important this is, because this could potentially decide how this game is played, and it won't matter if you have a better comp or a worse comp, because even if you have a worse comp, you can have 40% win chance, and these 40% can still get you the game.
Not going main, dude. No, they are going main. They're going main. They're going main.
Yeah, they got goats, I think. Unless they're
They have
yeah,
goats,
they
I
have
think.
goats.
Yep, same thing. Same comp as last
Let's
time.
do one. Let's do one.
Ready?
Let's
We're
do
gonna
one.
dive Zen in 3, 2, 1.
I'm going on Zen here.
Zen.
I'm on Zen here. Zen
Zen,
one.
get the
Zen, Zen, Zen,
Zen one.
Zen.
Zen still
Zen
one.
one. Zen dead. Zen dead. I got Zen. He's
Zen
Zen.
break.
I'm gonna die.
Zen, Zen,
one.
Zen. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going on Zen here. I'm on Zen here.
Zenier has to call out discords. And you don't have to dive the Zen, you dive the discord basically. You can go for the Zen, but keep in mind he's gonna get pocketed by the Brig. He has Matrix, he has Bubble, and there's a ton of stuff to keep him alive.
Zen one.
Zen, 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 Zen,
one.
Zen.
Zen still
Zen
one.
one. Zen dead. Zen dead. I got Zen. He's Zen.
Zen
He's
break.
I'm gonna die.
Lucio on her Zen. Lucio half. Lucio half. Lucio dead.
Break Discord.
Point.
Big dead. Big dead. Big dead.
Move point.
Run
Move
Discord on point.
Give on me. Give on me. Give on me up top. She's half.
Dead, deep,
point.
No, one.
Diva can die.
Zarya's half as well.
Baby Diva.
Baby Diva Discord.
Oh,
He's off.
You gotta turn the point as soon as possible because they kept it as well.
Zarya 1, Zarya 1, Zarya, 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 Zarya,
Run
Zarya.
Discord.
one.
I need heals.
Oh, I'm feeding, I'm feeding.
Can we res that?
Can we touch?
Gotta make sure that point is kept here.
Point? Can we cap?
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah,
Pressing.
cap,
Come on,
cap.
cap. I'm capping.
Okay, so big misplay because you're not focused on the objective, like not the point objective, but what has to be done in game. You get distracted about the enemy choke and you forget to cap, and okay, everyone is aware of that you need to cap, but there's no designated person to cap. And then enemy Lucio here comes in, ends up stalling. Okay, and what happens if a Diva comes in and so on? And as I mentioned, the way you behave as you move out decides how the game goes, and you weren't focused, and right now you're not focused
Wait,
either.
Yeah.
Zen dead. Zen dead.
Lucio dead. I have ultimate Matrix.
And I know you get kills on the enemies, but let's say that you didn't get these kills, or you face enemies that are stronger or more skilled than you, then it's an automatic lose.
Lucio half. Lucio half.
Run,
Thanks,
run,
Doctor.
run,
And-
run, 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 run.
I know I'm being a bit strict on this, but this is a team scrim, and it's way different in a scrim compared to ranked, because the way you scrim and is the way you will play on stage in OWL or in contenders or in open or whatever tournament there is.
Lucio half. Lucio half. He's full. He's full.
Can we kill Zarya?
Break Discord.
Break. Back out. Back out.
Back out, back out.
I'm fine.
Dude, honestly, they don't have any to touch me. I'm literally sitting.
I have Valkyrie.
Alright, I'm getting out. I'm 50 ult. They're going left side.
Zen's
Zen.
one. Zen's literally
Lucio
one.
one, Lucio
Oh,
one.
I got Zen.
Good job.
Vine here.
Run one. Sorry.
Zarya.
Sorry, Discord.
Zarya.
Don't let her get out.
Sorry, dead.
Nice.
I'm not with you.
Back out.
Thank you.
I'm actually.
They have Widow
They
now.
will.
Zen, do you want to play close? Close. I can bubble you.
Make next fight a slow fight
Can't play,
because it's 75%.
Tell me where they are so I know how to.
Yeah, just call window though, make sure, because that's the only way she's
I have
gonna
trans, so we need to fall back if I'm to use it properly, just in the event.
Oh fuck,
There,
dude.
you can
she's
bubble
hot.
here, you can res, you can res, you can res.
Sorry, that's my fault.
They're going bottom left, bottom left. Run up,
Okay.
run up.
Widow's free.
I'm valking here, valking here.
Widow,
I'm
widow.
gonna ult in a second. I'm ulting in 5, 4,
Nice.
3, 2, 1 now. Okay, I force double support else. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Bottom left, bottom left. Run up,
Okay.
run up.
So Winston here, he should be contesting point as much as he can. Like obviously he doesn't want to get stunned, he doesn't have primal, so it's gonna be tough. But as soon as the enemy's cap, you should be resetting, or you should think that you should reset.
I'm valking here, valking here.
Widow, widow,
I'm
widow.
gonna ult in a second. I'm ulting in 5,
Or even Mercy can contest by being in
4,
bulk.
3, 2, 1 now. Okay, I force double support else. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We're in the next fight.
I have no res.
That's fine.
So as soon as everyone has gotten double support, perfect timing to reset them in.
We're not fighting.
Oh god.
Wait.
Discord?
I'm online. He's half.
He's half,
I don't have bubble. They have a free shatter right now.
Where's Widow?
Widow dead, Widow dead.
Nice,
Go,
well
go,
said.
go now. Go, go, go.
Man.
Div out of mech, div out of mech. Kill her.
Get all this.
I'm on point.
It's okay, we're fine. Right now.
Zen's alone on the left.
Div on is
I'm
div
out. Break one.
Zen,
Break Discord.
Break, nice. I got shattered.
Dead.
Break one.
Zen.
Your Winston should be focusing the Zen here and not the Zarya. There's a bit different target focus here. I think Winston should pay attention more.
Break, nice. I got shattered.
Widow dead. We win it.
Ryan won.
minutes.
Ryan's literally won.
Shooting random.
I'm resing.
Nice, Res. Go, I go here. We win this.
Go, go.
I'm on the Zen.
Zen 1, Zen dead. I'm on Zarya. No,
Zarya.
Nice,
Diva.
guy.
Zarya's 1.
Diva won.
I'm on Divas now. Diva.
Couldn't their route be scouted during the rest for that fight? While Monkey and Mercy were... it could have been, but it was too late to prepare for it.
Okay, pick early.
Sorry, dead.
Nice.
Nice.
Dude.
I need
Nice
heals,
shot.
Well, it wasn't too late, but... let's see. If we back up here. The Zen... Yeah, the Zen is the one that should hear it. You can't really scout it unless you have someone sitting on point here or on the other side, because it's a blocked vision basically. So, but you can hear it though, since they're running in, and Zen has to call it out. I don't know a perfect scouting position for that route, more than just having someone on point or far back, maybe sitting in stairs, but on the other side.
Go, I go now. I'm on Zarya near D-Med. Diva 1.
Nice.
I
Dude.
need
Nice
heals,
shot.
Oh, Widow's a top.
Good
Widow's
job
a top.
turning.
Watching left.
I need heals.
Sorry.
You know where we are. We're fine.
Run point.
Run.
One.
One.
Then one.
One
Then
dead.
one.
Zen dead. I'm on break. I'm on break.
Diva 1 point.
Break point.
Break Discord point.
Sorry, I jumped.
I stole all your kills, Cheesy.
It's okay. Focus that.
My bomb hit her back.
Widow.
Tracer no recall.
Right.
Good job.
Try bash him one more time. If it fails, we never do this.
Miss would have rolled, dude.
Oh, dude. If they have ghost, let's try bash him one more time.
Yeah,
If
we'll
bash
do
him
bash
fails, then we
him.
don't want it in the future.
Miss would have rolled, dude.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a bit dry in my throat, so my voice. Okay, so Cheesy. When you win the round, you tend to, the team I mean, tends to focus on the next round. When you lose the round, the team tends to focus on the last round. So make that observation yourselves. Like everyone in the team shares like a team mentality, and you can shape this team mentality yourselves. And all you have to do is like talk about it, make a rule to, not rule, but you know, you decide what's important to talk about in next round, etc. And what you're doing right here is perfect. Like talking about what they might run and so on.
That comp, honestly, with Farah.
Try bash him one more time. If it fails, we never run
Whoever was speaking about the Farah is probably a bit too hyped.
it again.
So, what if
Not a bit too hyped, but it's totally fine to be hyped. This is just my way of looking at it. So you shouldn't do exactly as I say, because you want to take what you think is good, and then you just apply it.
I did? What if I did Reaper instead of?
No, Bro, Doomfist would be good with Bastion. You can knock them all off of high ground, dude. Zan.
Doomfist
Plus,
is
Uh,
on this map.
No, I'm not.
plus
But
you can chase down supports if they try to like
On
play
point,
under.
man, you have
Yeah,
infinite.
if they play under, you can chase down supports, Zan.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do if they go plant, like, and we don't get any picks. We have to drop down all at the same time, so we have to go call that, and we're all gonna drop together. So we're gonna call drop in 3, 2, 1, and then we're all just gonna drop right from the high ground down onto point.
so Bastion is a bit unorthodox, and you only have one tank as well, so it's gonna be a bit weird. But being creative in a scrim, it's totally fine because scrims are there for, you know, this is what scrims are for. You want to test things, and then you want to make small changes and slowly become better and better at whatever you choose.
Like right below us.
I think that we can try rotating to farther back high ground.
Yeah, I would rather-
Yeah, it's totally
I-
fine,
I don't know what I'm gonna get
Cheesy.
back there, dude.
Zan, when they all push you though on high ground,
My monitor, the old. We're going out right side. We're going
Right
out.
side.
You guys go right. You guys go right. I'm gonna go left, so I can go force them. Okay, hopefully they don't like the CDB.
You probably might have wanted to go main with us, so you can
Okay,
punch him.
me, like, I know a rollout where I go over this little block. Tell me if I can do it.
Go all high gun, dude. Send up now.
I'm gonna
All
push
side.
Oh,
Bench.
So whoever is spectating again, try to tell them to change the camera to the side maybe. So a good position would be up here, or maybe further back, because that way you can see everything, even on high ground. And then I usually start further back, and if enemies and the team is running out high ground, I just move forward.
Shield, bench shield.
So right now we can't see your position, so I can't really comment anything on that.
it's okay, we're good. I'm playing here.
I pulled them down. I bench.
Let me see if I can catch something here.
any value out of whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of.
Good out here.
I'm on. Sorry, no.
Alright,
Right
Devo.
side.
Okay, so you see the FPS here. Usually, if someone has above 60 FPS, they are in. Usually, coaches and stuff spectate in window mode, or full screen, doesn't matter. But usually it's in windowed because it's just easier to write notes and stuff. And if you see more than 60 when moving the camera, and then when it's standing still, like here, and it's sub 60 or 60, like precisely 60, it means that they're tabbed out and stuff. Just a small tip, so like you can know when someone is not focused. But yeah, looks like someone is alt tab from the pause. Just like call out running again, or whatever it is.
Go back, like,
Okay, so this is the position. Okay.
It's a button peek.
Rotate
Okay.
back. Back.
They're going point. They're going point.
Rotate back, rotate back.
Don't give too much space here. What you can do is, let's see. As they move in, you can do a similar drop as on King's Row, where like try and hold this corner as Orisa, and you can still have Bastion up here. You can have Bastion up here even, and you want to contest with someone, and Orisa is the one that should contest, and you just drop down like this. If you don't have cooldown on your shield, use Fortify, and it's gonna be really easy to keep you alive. Mercy can move up and down if someone is on the bridge, and yeah, standing up here is Mercy, super easy. No one can catch you.
They're going point. They're going point.
Rotate back, rotate back.
You got
Going.
Devo on point. Devo's on point.
Ryan
Ryan one.
Zen back right? We left.
Gonna die.
Zen one. Get Zen.
Zen dead.
Nice, good job.
One Zen.
Zarya.
Zarya one,
Josh.
Zarya one.
Go point, I have out.
Your Orisa wants to should be looking to step outside and inside the shield and carrying the enemies like that, because
Zen one. Get Zen.
Zen dead.
let's see, she puts
Zarya,
the
go.
shield, then steps outside, and you don't have to step outside as Orisa here. And if you do this, like stepping outside and just tanking too many shots, you end up having to use Fortify, and in a situation where the enemies aren't dead, using your Fortify inefficiently is gonna get you killed easily as Orisa.
Zarya.
Zarya one,
Josh.
Zarya one.
Go point, I have out.
Zarya.
Diva. Wait, I'm on. Break that.
That's like counterintuitive as a
My
reset.
bomb probably isn't gonna do anything against our codes.
I'm going
You
back a
just
little bit.
aim it at the
Morning.
ground.
I'm gonna go in here.
Yeah, Zan, you got this.
Alright, back up. Zen low on
Zen
high
up top.
ground.
Zan, you got this.
Bomb probably isn't gonna do anything against our codes.
I'm going
You
back a
just
little bit.
aim it at the
Morning.
ground.
I'm I'm gonna go in here.
Yeah, Zan, you got this.
Alright, back up.
Then low on.
Your Orisa keeps moving out of the point, and try to at least have a foot in.
Then a pop.
Then dead. Oh, okay, I first trans.
And be careful with Doomfist here,
Nice.
since it's out of line of sight.
Yeah.
Blind one, blind low, blind low.
Ryan one, Ryan one.
Oh my god.
Blind one.
Nice.
I'm gonna go
Okay,
in.
so let's see.
Yeah, Zan, you got this.
Oh, okay.
To use trans, you can't do anything about that.
Nice.
Maybe you don't have to use Lucio, or maybe you can skip the Mercy actually and put use a Zen. Actually, no, that's not gonna be easy. So I was thinking maybe if you don't run Lucio, you still need Lucio. I totally see the speed. You could have a Zen for the discords and just melt with Bastion, because that goes through any defensive ult. But it might be too hard to defend defend your spot as a Zen.
Bastion ult, yep.
Oh, I'm going Bastion.
Yeah, it's
Alright, let's get high gun. Let's get high gun left side. Let's get high gun
Where do I
left
go
side.
here? Where do I go here? Sombra?
Just stay doomed, just stay doomed.
Stay doom, stay doom, stay doom.
Have
We're gonna
goats.
They have goats, yeah. Alright, go top left. That's fine. Yeah, they don't have line. They wanna hold up here.
They're close, they want to shatter, they want to shatter.
Oh crap, dude. I'm gonna...
About Anna, I wouldn't suggest Anna because you want a defensive ult. Or, as Anna instead of Mercy. Now I would say Mercy is better because you can damage boost the Bastion, you can damage boost the Orisa, you can easily escape as well since Doomfist uppercuts, Diva can fly up. And when you use Valk, you can easily heal everyone as well because it's an Orisa comp.
I'm dead.
I have
I think we've lost this fight.
You guys should back out, you guys should back out. Or just die.
Oh, get right,
Sorry,
right,
sorry,
right.
sorry.
Okay,
Back
get out,
in,
get
back
out,
in.
Back out.
I can't. I got body block this one. Alright, we're fine. Should I switch
I'm
now?
gonna go kill that.
No, you guys need to pop
I have
We need to
Valk.
just
Yeah,
use
we
it.
gotta
We
use our
need to use it, and then we need to switch.
Yeah, yeah.
We're using this fight, right?
Yep.
We should have used it last fight.
Yeah, I got bomb. Lines one.
Right.
We gotta use our.
I got bomb. Lines one.
That was all my bad. I got the Zen.
I'm getting out.
Your healer's low.
I'm switching to junk out right now. Actually, I'm moving. Okay, boys.
Maybe just swap goats,
Yeah,
But-
I like that call.
It's a good idea to switch because as soon as you have lost your position with Orisa, it's kind of hard to move back in.
They're dry pretty much, dude, like you can swap goats.
Do we keep Mercy for the? Make them come to us.
ASAP.
I have heals point.
Zarya's deleting me, Zarya's.
Gonna kill the break. Yeah, you can kind of split it.
I'm on point.
I have heals point.
Zarya's deleting me, Zarya's.
Gonna kill the break.
Wait, how did... oh, you killed yourself
You can kind of.
with a right click.
I guess not.
What the fuck?
Cheesy.
Nice.
I'm on ASAP.
Beating?
They simply have too many ults for you to deal with, and it's just unfortunate.
Even if we have ults, we just
Yeah.
need to switch.
I think it only works.
Have we went?
Okay, next one is... so I gave you some good feedback for the team earlier in the VOD, and it's mostly about focus and stuff, and it was a bit too in-depth to give short points, so I would recommend just going back. It's not too long, but it's really useful for you. Next one is King's Row. Let's see here.
Of like knowing when to
Move forward when I got bubbled.
Who cares? You're fine. Just watch how Lion plays it. Dog,
They
no,
might be
it's
Hey guys, let's concentrate on the map. The
Alright.
map.
Okay,
Focus,
they're-
guys. Focus.
fine. My hunt.
Alright, I don't
I'll
think they
debate
have a
comps and how cancel they are later.
Ryan, I'm gonna bubble you
You got
right now.
half. You got half. Sorry, you half.
I'm hard chilling.
Big one.
Let's see.
And I'm gonna bubble you
You got
right now.
half. You got half.
When you run double sniper, you should be... You don't have to run Lucio. Instead you can run Zen plus Anna or Mercy Anna. And that's because of the damage boost or discords. With Lucio, you wanna use Lucio to speed in or speed out, but there's not much you can speed more than 2 characters, and you can compensate that much easier. Or if someone if the problem is that enemies are just engaging into Ryan and Zarya, instead of needing Lucio to speed out, what you can do is you compensate that with better positioning or smarter positioning.
Sorry, half.
I'm heart shielding.
And it's very situational, so it's hard to give exact stuff because it depends on how the enemies speed in, when they do it, and so on.
Big one.
Then half.
Sorry, half.
I'm heart shielding.
You wanna, as Ryan and Zarya, you wanna try and avoid dying quickly, which is from just engaging or taking quick fights. You're not the ones that are gonna do the heavy lifting here. You wanna stay alive, and your Hanzo is supposed to get kills, your Widow is supposed to get kills, and you just make the Ryan drop his shield. You don't have to kill him or kill Brig or anything. And save the bubble for when your Reinhardt is getting stunned or discarded, etc.
Big one.
Then half.
Alright, yeah, I just got fucked.
We need to solve off this, I think.
There's like spam. I don't know. I think honestly, rolling this kid. I like getting so much off.
I should recharge.
I think our Ryan, I think you need to play like really passively and just let us get picks.
Alright. Good zone.
Lucio tagging this down to the side, so just go to point here. Now push that.
Good zone.
Lucio
Alright,
one.
Lucio one.
Watch
Lucio
Diva,
one, I
Diva.
Lucio dead. Lucio dead.
Right,
Lucio
right,
dead.
right.
Lucio dead.
So you want to make sure that they can't just walk in for free like this, because if Zarya had a grab, you would be losing the fight here.
Down to the side, so just go to point here.
And Anna is off position as well. She should be on this side, because right here she can only heal like this. This is like the zone that Anna can heal in, and that's if she stays here. If she's here, she can heal all of this. Hope it makes sense. It's really easy, and yeah, it's only the opposite side of where she is right now.
Now push that.
Good zone.
And she moves there later, but she should already be there.
Lucio one. Lucio one.
For example, Zarya would have melted her if Zarya was much earlier in lobby.
Lucio one.
Watch Diva.
Lucio dead. Lucio dead.
Right,
Lucio dead.
right, right.
Thank you for the nano.
Brig half.
Run one again.
Kill Zarya.
Ryan back up.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
call that the Dorito zone.
Crack that.
Loki, can we just do Bastion? Like,
Wait, what happened to his shatter, dude? Did it hit the car or something?
It hit me.
Oh, did it? I was
I
like,
didn't even
You
know.
know, Could you walk on a point? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was making.
no one got a shitty spawn.
They're gonna have ults here.
oh, there's Unstanding still. Gotta pop him.
I couldn't. I had to back up.
Alright, back up.
He was gonna push me.
We have grab.
Ryan,
Let me
I
build
bubble
my
for you.
No, I don't want to.
So let's see, you have grab. You don't have any dragons, so you shouldn't use your grab. Try to force out their grab first.
No, I'm just saying I have for you.
Or you can try and build dragon, and as Zarya you can stand inside bookstore, but don't show yourself in the glass, because then Diva will obviously tell everyone else. Instead, for example, if the enemies are standing here, you can be a Zarya maybe outside the bookstore, and you can grab inside, like on this point. Or this wall, if you see that enemies are hugging this wall. And you can sort of lead them like sheeps by, you know, directing the spam, choosing where widow positions and all that. And shooting the grab at the wall, if they're hugging, it's guaranteeing the grab, and Diva won't be able to hit it. It's just that's a high risk, high reward play, because the risk is that they don't get caught in it because of the reduced radius
Keep poking this.
in
I'm
the
gonna try
Zarya
shatter
patch.
first. I'm gonna try to.
Okay. Let me break shields then.
Lucio one.
Lucio one.
Tomorrow is my birthday, by the way, 24. You gonna review my VOD then? Yeah, fandoms, I'll review your VOD for sure. It's Saturday, so I'm gonna do it. And happy birthday, like before. Yeah. I'll say happy birthday tomorrow as well.
Lucio one.
Then dead.
Good bombs. Good
Nice.
bombs.
Zarya one.
You're dealing great with the grab.
Right.
And your widow is popping off.
That was good. You guys made me space and I just
as well as you, Cheesy.
Grab first. We should grab Hanzo ult first. They're gonna have
Yeah.
Translar, right?
Yeah, it's we just have to swing
I
and
might
pick.
be able to pick him. I might be able to pick him.
Deku, I have another Rhine tip. I'll just say it like after this fight, okay?
Yeah.
We can do this all the way if you want. Trying to make some space.
Oh, I got eaten my
Do
shot.
they have shatter? What do they have? What do they have?
Hey, you
We
got
can
it.
We can do this all the way if you want.
Okay, you talking about the grab dragon?
Trying to make some space.
Oh, I got eaten my
Do
shot.
they have shatter?
Who's I guess it's the Reinhardt asking for the shatter, which is kind of bad of him because he should be tracking the shatter, and also it's disrupting the setup you're doing with grab dragon, because you start thinking what he asks, or whoever it is asking about the shatter, and it makes the team like think, okay, are we gonna get countered or whatever.
Shatter? What do they have? What do they have?
Hey, you got it.
Great nade, perfect timing for the dragon.
Bubble two.
Big.
You can try and dragon earlier, like much earlier. Before, like next time you scrim, like tell your Zarya, or like you and Zarya like speak with each other one-on-one, and Zarya can say going for it, or you know, grabbing, or you know, and you shoot the dragon right as she basically presses Q. A bit before, maybe like a half a second before she presses Q, and she just has to say it beforehand, and then it wouldn't have mattered if they have trans or not, because you would have naded and it would be stuck, but half of the dragon is basically not used since the grab ended.
Oh, I got melted.
That's fine. 3 support.
Oh, we
Don't
baited that portal.
Don't use anything. Let them
Oh
win.
my god.
They shattered.
Yeah, I'm dead.
We used one ult, they used 3.
Let's do ghost now. Let's do ghost now, but we have an ult advantage.
Dude, I feel like since you guys have shield break, it makes like it easier to play, dude. Honestly.
Yeah,
Actually,
we have
no,
ult
you do.
advantage now. We have ult advantage. We stun and that. Yeah, and they use grab too.
You definitely have not ult advantage, or actually you do, like in terms of Shatter and Anna, but they have more spread out ult charge,
Yep.
They use prime.
and you just reset on Brig. Actually, you do have ult advantage by a lot, but it's not like it's easy to block a Shatter, and Nano is only useful if you combine it with high energy Zarya here.
Why are they winning this?
We're
Because they have the
Welcome to
Discord.
goats.
Yeah, they have Discord and they spend it to us. We gotta. What we have to do is.
They're still pushing up. They're still pushing up. I need defensive.
I'm HC.
Holy
I don't
fuck.
have any
Go into
melt.
go into spawn. Go into spawn.
What you should do is you switch the Zen. No. Actually, keep the Zen.
Same spawn. Don't feed anymore than we have.
Go
to.
out right.
No, wait. They have Zen goats, so you can't switch to Moira because you have a Nano, and you just have to make it a quick fight.
What's up, left side? Bring
Try to find. Now you just have to either get a shatter or trash fight until you have combos.
Price up left side. He's gonna be out.
Zen's tilted. Alright, we'll be fine. We have all saves.
I got grab off of that.
Is the brick still left?
Oh, he's better.
Okay, wait. 3.
Ate it.
Done.
Okay, you ate it.
Nice.
Keep in mind, as when you're fighting long fights like this, walking back and forth, left and right, the longer you wait to engage, to take a fight, etc., after you've eaten the grab, the more value Zen gets from his Discord. And you want to cycle the Nano as soon as possible, because you'll build up a Nano in the fight, or maybe to 70%, I don't know, because goats versus goats can end up being 40 seconds, 1 minute, etc.
Alright, I'm gonna stun next.
Oh, I got stunned. Dude, I'm getting farmed by this team. I don't know.
Dude, their goats are so.
Flash in the Discord.
For that.
For
That's
So the problem here is, let's see,
I want to
When
stun
do you
this time.
use-
Tell me, I need to track bubbles though.
do you
I need
use
to track
speed
bubbles
here?
first.
No, you don't use speed.
Okay, wait. 3.
Okay, you eat the grab. Lucio is not in position to speed, but if you speed in now and just go in, like Nano whatever you can, and just go for it, because, and also get the shatter down. It's no big deal if you use shatter and miss, and use Nano and you don't really kill anything, but because you can use Nano to charge up new ults, for example Zarya, you can Nano Reinhardt, you can even Nano Brig, and I think the reason you lose this fight is because you just wait until they get good positions. They get to think about the diva ult. And for example, if the diva uses her ult straight up like this, it's really easy to just block it or keep running, but since she uses it, since they got a grab, she uses it, and you're basically waiting as well for the enemy Rhino to grab.
Ate it.
Nice,
Nice,
nice.
good aid.
Alright, I'm gonna stun next.
Oh, I got
Oh,
stunned. I got stunned.
dude.
Dude, I'm getting farmed by this team. I don't know.
Dude, their goats are so good. Oh, it's annoying. Because if they have the
Yeah,
right
they land the shield.
Maybe we say
Trying to
Let's
skip
get the rolls.
that's just we have to say.
I don't think you have to grind, Cheesy, because these things you can fix them by just playing smarter and faster. What you're doing when what your Reinhardt is doing when he's walking like this, left and right, and your Lucia by being out of position, like he's not doing anything. He's playing like a Zen right here. Having this position or this formation, it's not goats. Like goats is when you're all stacked up in one location. You just move in like a tank. What you're doing is you're just waiting, and maybe it's you're waiting to react to something because you're not planning ahead yourselves. And maybe it's what I'm trying to say is you can solve this tactically. You don't have to become mechanically more skilled because there's not much mechanics. It's more about the tactics, and similar to playing MOBA. Like if you would have a top-down view and pretend it's League of Legends, it's way easier to win, like plan this fight. But since it's first person, it's much more difficult to predict like what's in front of you, like behind walls, etc. And it's easier to tunnel vision as well, and then just zone out or bot out, I guess. Oops, sorry. Bot out is the better word.
Like not out of position, so
You could switch to Moira to counter the Zen because you have far more healing short term, but the downside is you just lose the nano, and you might as well use nano, go in, okay, you don't get anything, then you switch to Moira. But right now you're waiting too much, and even if you switch, you would still be waiting, I think.
for that.
Oh, nice.
My turn to farm, bitch! My turn!
I think it can be fixed with the mentality advice I gave before, where you set everyone's focus on not on planning for what's in front of you, and that's exactly what people mean when they say adapting. If you didn't adapt enough, okay, or they just adapted more than us, after matches, etc. That's exactly what they mean. They planned more ahead, they were more proactive, they fought 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of us.
Zarya.
And that's something you fix
I'm actually
with
surprised
mentality,
you got-
or like with the atmosphere and all that.
Building where he's waiting for his break to.
I want to pre-valley here, dude.
Back up, Zan. Back up.
Back up, Sam.
If you guys want to push in all
Alright,
bomb
recharging,
and try and
recharging.
stun Ryan.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, ready?
Coming in.
3, 2, 1. Okay, ready?
Okay, so in game it's gonna be too difficult to set this up, or like too stressful. But what you can do is you want to do Diva Bomb, right? So you can stun the Reinhardt, and if the bubble comes out, you can also queue up a charge from your Reinhardt, and you can bubble your Reinhardt. You can bubble. You want to bubble Brig actually, but make a failsafe as well. So like use everything basically, because this Diva Bomb is supposed to be a wipe basically, right? So use pin plus Brig stun, and not only Brig stun, because if you stun the enemy Reinhardt, everyone in the enemy team will die, and you don't really need your shield anyway. So add another layer to the depth of strategy.
3, 2, 1.
You can see here, like, let's see.
Let's do that.
Okay, ready?
Coming in.
3,
If you start pinning the enemy Reinhardt here, it's also much easier
2, 1.
let's see, actually,
And
you
try and
can't
stun
pin him.
Ryan.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, ready?
Coming in.
So as Brig, you want to be around this corner because you can third person without taking spam, and you can stun much easier. If you're right here, let's see, are you right there? No, it's D.Va right there.
3, 2, 1.
Actually, you're hugging the wall, so you have perfect position, but then you move to the left. And so they wanted to do. They wanted to stun your Reinhardt. So actually, you could have stunned the enemy Reinhardt.
I don't think we just did it.
Break.
That was all.
Okay, so I guess the D.Va bomb placement was a bit bad.
Loading. Oh, shit.
But still, you can do Ryan plus Brigstun. Or Ryan Pin plus Brigstun.
He slapped.
Before Brigitte, the way you would do these D.Va bombs in a graph, for example, against the Reinhardt is you pin the Reinhardt while the bomb is exploding.
Yeah,
They pop-
I did it again.
Huge grab.
I have another one.
Dude, this is so gay.
Don't take out from me.
Oh, I got stunned.
Run him.
I got stunned.
Oh,
Oh, fuck.
They're looking.
Oh, I got stunned.
Run him.
Out of my-
Stunned.
oh.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, so it gets a shatter.
Keep it back on me. Wait.
You're doing everything you can by peeling back. That's
Don't use anything.
the right thing.
Okay, so the way we win this is we keep messing up their support combos. Like, cause they're like, I shatter, we mess it up.
Okay, so let's see. Messing up the support combos. I guess you mean like nading when trance comes out, etc. If you wait until they have trance, if you wait until they are beat, you will get punished by the Discord. It's like Discord is insanely strong. Like it's insanely strong versus Ana goats, and if you want to beat it, like the easiest, like having the easiest counter, you just go Moira goats and you speed in and you just have everyone in this like small circle. Pretend it's like the friend zone, out not friend zone, but like safe zone, or like everyone is friends and you're all in this zone. And if you step outside, you're not a friend. You're like on your own, and you're gonna die. Or I don't know, make some like reference if you have to, because if you go Moira goats, you roll them like easily.
Yeah, I will mess up until they push her on the corner, and we'll do it.
They're gonna grab, they're playing up.
I mean,
What do you do now?
I tried to make a funny
Alright, yeah,
reference,
ready?
but I quickly realized I didn't have a follow-up.
Sorry, no bubbles.
Fuck, man.
And the D.Va should try and work on her D.Va bombs, because it looked like she was fully focused on doing the exact same bomb while the enemies had speed up. They could just engage and ignore you, and the rest of the team didn't really plan ahead. So again, outside of the game, try and plan more.
they keep pushing.
Nice.
D.Va's weak. No longer.
A tip would be like sit in a custom game and like do different setups, but don't have like static setups that you always do. You want to have like a playbook.
Sorry.
I'm pinned, what the fuck?
I got break.
Keep on me back, keep on.
And the enemies are doing the exact same thing you are. They're just reacting to whatever is happening on their screens.
I can't.
And that's why you see random graphs coming out when a D.Va, enemy D.Va is right here.
They're both low.
Hold on, get on point. I'm coming back with shatter. I'm coming back. Nice.
We win it.
Come here, Silent.
Ah! Oh god, I escaped.
Lucio won. Actually won Lucio.
Come on, play here.
Break.
I broke Lucio off.
Nice.
It's a bit inefficient to hold up your shield when 3 of your teammates are in front of the shield as well. So just go and swing, and you're totally healthy here as well. You have full HP even. Try to kill someone, shatter someone. Like it's totally worth to shatter the Zarya here if you know that she has no bubble.
Break one.
Break.
Vine top the gun, give on.
I'm gonna get out
They
of mech.
wasted shatter.
Vine top the gun,
Okay.
give on.
So watch this Reinhardt. You see that he flicks and jumps, and he's thinking about using shatter, and he should use shatter, but he's waiting for probably more to come in. I don't know, maybe watching out for a stun, but you just want to go for it right here on D.Va and Zarya.
I'm gonna get out of mech.
You see, he jumps back, he flicks back and forth,
To shatter, they wait to shatter.
and it comes out way too slow, because what if the Diva boosts in front? What if the Zarya has bubble now? Like, it's overtime, so it's hard to keep track of the cooldowns. Or if a break comes out, Lucio comes out, boops you, etc.
I'm out of mag.
Shatter
Oh,
tanks,
right.
shatter all tanks.
Nice. Nice.
Break one, break one.
Break.
Vine's on the gun, Vine's on the gun, give on.
If the okay, yeah, he has trance anyways.
Watch her, Ryan, you're too far. I vote her,
I go, on Diva, I'm dead.
Run me.
Lucio,
Lucio,
point.
Lucio.
Zen. Zen one.
Good job.
I feel like
Weak.
Just be
I
fast.
need to get better at my bubbles though, like Moses. Tell me.
Alright.
I'm serious.
myself right now.
Fight.
Okay, so let's see.
So
Yeah,
it's like
it's
Zarya positioning.
Yeah, I mean, I
didn't you already
I know how to
Oh,
predict.
shit.
defend?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah. My
It's
bad,
just
sorry.
hard when it's that chaotic. Like I tried bubbling him as well. Destruct.
Yeah, you already
Get mad,
defended.
You literally can't die. And you just...
No wait, this was attack. Oh, actually, it was a long attack round. Okay, my bad. It felt like such a
Hey, block.
Such
Like,
a
I
long
need you to
attack.
get stunned, just instantly tell me.
Alright, yeah, I will.
that it must have been like 2 rounds.
Like I'm just kind of like playing it by ear, and I don't have a lot of experience on serious, so it's kind of like should I do it now or maybe later?
I want
What you do?
I want to.
Yeah. I mean I kind of like I know how to
Oh, shit.
predict, but in case they shield bash him, he doesn't get stunned.
Bad team, a
Give me-
good goats team and a bad goats team isn't mechanical skill or positioning, it's all usage.
It's all
Let's just make
We hold hotel.
No,
we
it's-
hold
You've been talking about how it is ult usage, and in chat you wrote gonna grind goats, but if you grind goats without planning what you're gonna grind, you know, doing the paperwork basically, or the homework, it's not gonna be useful practice. You might as well just not practice and only watch what's and only planning, etc., because you know the answer because you already told it, and yeah, we can see in the gameplay that it's not organized.
It's all,
So try to give more time to planning, and it'll solve all these question marks you have in game.
Straight up.
They're pushing through hotel. They're
So Zarya used her bubbles.
probably.
Let's see.
Yeah, they're on good.
Don't swear.
Lucio should be in position to speed you guys in as well. He's way too off, like far back. He can stand right here, and if they go in and you see that they have used bubbles, you should be going in as well. And let's see. You have Anna. Okay. It's gonna, yeah, it's still good. It's still good if they're playing Zen.
Notice your gold.
So they used bubbles. You see that they are off position, not off position. It's they're moving into lobby. And what's inside lobby for you? It's
They're pushing through hotel.
sorry. Okay.
Hey, bubble.
Ryan should charge in. Like as soon as they have used their bubbles, it's free kill on Zarya. Like you don't have to focus Ryan because you have no Discord, so you can go whatever. But it's a free kill on Zarya because she can protect herself. Is Zarya's position in the house okay? No, it isn't. I don't think so. It's just like she will escape. She's gonna easily avoid any engage, but she can't really follow up with bubbles here on your Reinhardt, or if the enemy team is engaging here, because like if the enemy team speeds in and wants to fight in the middle here, you're not gonna do anything as Zarya flanking because you have 0 energy. Your Reinhardt is gonna get a ton of damage and it's gonna be very messy for you. So it's just better to have Zarya out here with the Rhine and be ready to use speed. Because you have Lucio for a reason, you want to use speed, right? And if you notice that they use speed, you can speed in, or you can rotate to arch where they will be and speed in into them. Or, you know, holding them by the doors here and do tons of damage.
Probably here.
Can I get bubble?
Yeah.
Big.
Play aggressive.
Nice. On a risky mission here.
Play aggressive. Aggressive.
Fuck.
I got
Go
slapped.
purple, go ahead, go ahead.
Go on, go on, go on.
You want to keep pushing in right here. Keep pushing, keep pushing.
Okay, I fed there.
And keep pushing because your Reinhardt he's healthy. They don't really have any chance to live if you rush them, and you get more ult charge.
We can keep pushing. We can keep pushing. I have grab.
Lucio weak.
Sorry, I won.
Oh yeah,
Speed out, speed out, speed out.
That was
Wait,
a huge anti,
That was really good.
That was fucking giant.
Yeah.
That's why we were in on, I think. Alright, I have grab here.
Hold on. Get ready to bubble me. I'm gonna into hotel, on the point. I'm gonna charge him into our team.
We need
Yeah,
to
Hotel, yeah.
I know like it's flashy to do these charges, but too many times these ones don't work in tournaments, and it's useless to practice. No, not useless actually. It's such a loaded word, so I'm sorry for using it. It's inefficient practice if you focus on these flashy things that you probably use more in overtime or the last push than it is when you use just standard positions in 3 minutes, because it doesn't matter if you win. You just want to practice holding first point, right? So why not just hold this position again? Because even if the enemies know exactly how you will play, they will try harder, they will try and adapt, and that forces you to basically develop as players as well. Or, at the same time as they are, but further.
I'll bait him.
No, not into hotel, into on the point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm just holding.
Back up, just play shields on
Ryan.
people.
What's the goal right now? If Ryan pins, maybe he's stunned by Brig, right here. What if he... let's say that he ends up getting stunned midway. What's the plan? Is it to fight in the middle of enemies that are surrounding or speeding him out, etc.? You need fail-safes, basically.
Run, go. Huge.
Luckily, you got a huge pin, but it's not always gonna happen.
Nice job.
Lucio one.
Go, go, go.
So what happened now, like in terms of development as players, is that the enemy team, they realized, okay, we got a scout for Reinhardt, and we can't just go walk in like bots. So now if you just set up like that again, you're gonna get scouted, and you as the defending team, you will learn, okay, we can't really do that every time. But I'd say it's all right to do it in overtime or in the last fight, but it's way too risky to do it this early.
Mine son.
Nice stun.
That's great stun.
Lever.
A ton of ult charge for you guys.
Huge plays.
Lever.
Nice.
Get up.
Okay, we're gonna bomb grab. You have to stun them. The orb charge is right. We'll play by ear.
You guys should nano Ryan first.
No.
No. We
Save
can do
nano,
it.
I got.
my lifesaver.
Okay, silent, we got this.
They're gonna push left side of statue. They're gonna push left.
That's fine. I'm gonna wait a
Just
little
give
bit.
him
When they get closer, when they get.
Maybe now.
Can I get bubble?
Okay, it's just
Purple.
When they get.
maybe now.
Can I get bubble?
Okay, it's just
Purple.
Huge purple. Diva.
We're all-
Purple.
It's really hard to see what's happening.
Okay,
When they get.
maybe now.
The angle is
Can I
way
get
too
bubble?
low. So you get 2 people, that's totally fine. Your Ryan is discorded, so it's okay to trade Ryan if you trade supports, because then you still win the point.
Purple.
Huge purple. Diva.
Okay. It's really hard to like evaluate the backline and stuff because I can't see it.
We're all- Then one.
Help.
Oh, it's because of the reduced radius centers.
Run weak.
Run. Nice.
Nice.
Holy
Juggernaut.
shit, Zen.
So I'll show. It's only 6 meters now, so I think it's to this outline. Like if we make like this, I'm not sure. Like it's not really animation specific. It used to be 8 meters, which I guess is this outer. And I guess like from how it's animated, the more intense coloring is where it starts, going in. It's the same as with EMP. where you can see every you know the outlines specifically.
Okay, it's just two
Purple, 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 purple.
Huge purple. Diva, 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 diva.
We're all-
grab.
Zen one.
I need help, I need help, I need help. Zarya one, Zarya one, Zarya one, Zarya, Zarya, Zarya.
Ryan weak,
Run,
Ryan one,
run,
Ryan
run.
one.
Nice.
Ryan.
Make sure it didn't get eaten.
What are we doing here?
Shatter
What are we
again.
doing? Alright, let's also shield back shadows. Shield back
No,
shadows.
no. Just
Okay,
try to
no,
stun his shot.
Okay, what are we
I
doing here?
shatter
What are we
again.
doing? Alright, let's.
Wait,
That's your
let's see.
bad.
That was
You got
good,
both
actually.
supports. Yeah.
Okay, what are we doing?
So you trade bubbles.
Alright, let's also shield back shadows. Shield back
No,
shadows.
no.
Keep in mind that if you haven't seen the enemy Zarya bubble, you can't go for these stuns.
Okay,
Try to
no,
stun
no.
him.
Now that you have seen the bubble, you can go for it. And I think the enemy Zarya used it because your diva fired off her barrage.
Okay.
So they went for the stun as well, so your Zarya should have been ready with a bubble as well. Good block though.
Yeah, not
Yeah, I technically did it.
popping out.
Ryan.
If you see the enemy, or as the defending Reinhardt, if he charges in right now, go for the stun.
Ryan one. Break shield, he's one.
I have a D-bomb in the back here.
Ah, they saved
Oh,
it.
you're way back there.
I
Yeah,
grabbed
I'm
it.
not trying to push you.
I shattered their
Yeah,
force,
I got it. Give it a push.
So I think we found the reason for why the shatter is off here. I think it's because your Reinhardt, he sees a ton of targets without shields, but he forgets about the beat, and that it's a really awkward position to trickle into because there's a Zarya with high energy, and there's not much concentration of the enemy bodies. Like if you want to go for one, you have to swing at, for example, I can't see what target this is, but let's say that you want to go for the brig here. If you swing for the brig, you won't hit anyone else.
Saved
Oh,
it.
you're way back there.
I
Yeah,
grabbed
I'm
it.
not trying to push you.
I shattered their
Yeah,
force.
I got it. Give it a push. Leave Liberty Max.
Sorry, behind. Oh, fuck.
Shield to get remake, boys.
Yeah, I need help.
Brig weak, brig
Help
weak.
Zen, help.
I think that a better shatter would have been if you wait out the beat, take it easy, and let them come back in, and then you shatter.
Ah, they saved
Oh,
it.
you're way back there.
Ryan one.
Run.
I'm right, I'm right.
Break, run.
I'm fighting a point. I'm fighting a point.
Okay, I pushed straight linger. That's fine.
Heal me, I need heal.
Point.
Okay.
Go on, boys.
He's on my back. He's on my back.
Okay, I pushed straight linger. That's fine.
Heal me, I need heal.
Point.
Go on,
Okay.
boys.
He's on my back.
Okay, your Zarya is a bit too greedy here because you wanna use the high energy on whatever else whatever the team is targeting. It's just quicker kills.
He's on my back.
And now you have to run back and you have to take an awkward defensive position because you were off position before.
Okay, we got
Lucio.
Vulnerable.
I got Lucio.
Swing those. Hard.
Use everything.
Zen, I'm with you. Oh shit.
Zen's one in the back.
Stun me and shatter.
Ryan, go point.
You can DMAC. Yeah, we got him. That's huge.
Oh shit.
Zen's one in the back.
Stun me and shatter.
Be really careful with these charges. We had a VOD earlier as well with Ryan charging too much, but charging here, you have to keep in mind you can't see the Zen. So while you're traveling, he puts a discord on you, and then you're done. And you're way too deep in. But if you keep swinging here, even if you have discord on, you can step off point. It's just a bit more than 2 ticks, so it's totally fine. And you want to use your charge as the last ability you have, before you die or before they cap,
Go
etc.
point.
You can DMAC. Yeah, we got him. That's huge.
Yeah, you die instantly.
That's okay. We held really well.
That's really good.
DMAC.
Don't.
And let's see what else is there. Your diva is way too tunnel visioned on the enemy diva.
She's one.
Nice.
I'm going for the flank angle. High ground.
Okay.
You guys want to grab?
Pick corner.
Watch for the stun. Watch.
Going for the flank angle. High ground.
So let's see. You want to use speed here as well and just
You guys
engage in
want to
them.
grab?
They don't have grab.
Pick corner.
Watch for the
Yeah,
stun. Watch for
beat.
the stun.
Do they have grab?
You end up just taking way too much damage walking back, holding S instead of just going in and using beat.
Back a bubble.
I blocked anyway.
Double something. I don't know what it was.
I'm dead.
That was a really good block.
You're dead.
Ryan, no personal.
You end up using beat anyways, but you can do it much earlier. You can engage with beat when the cart is here instead of here.
personal.
Okay.
Back up, back up, back up, back up, back up.
I went deep for this end. That's my fault.
Keep backing up. We're down 3. That was.
Then Zark, sorry.
Keep backing up. Keep backing up. All the way back, guys. All the
We
way
have
back.
all. We have all.
Ryan, get back. Ryan, get back.
They can have. They're gonna.
I'm gonna grab their front line. Because Zen is
I'm
far
back.
back.
I'm back.
Yeah. Back up a little bit. Back up a little bit. I can grab this. Alright, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab their front line. Because Zen is far
I'm back.
back.
I'm back.
Okay.
I can stun.
I got
This Zarya has to be focused or she's gonna melt everyone. Either focused, you know, by stunning or whatever, or you just speed and engage quicker. You have to fight more quicker.
I got pinned. I got
So,
Okay.
I mean,
Alright.
I was gonna get out of neck there.
As soon as she has no more friendly, that's when you should focus her. You know, when she's on high energy. Otherwise, she just farms and you
So I
grab.
just attacked.
top. You got top left.
Do it now.
Do it.
It's done. No, he
Aw,
didn't.
he missed that.
Oh,
Unlucky.
keep it back, keep it back, keep it back.
Just watch the ult here.
Nice.
Brig went dead.
Keep it back,
Break, break.
Come here.
Good pin.
Keep it back with me. Keep it back.
Ryan on the Ryan.
She's 60 now, and before the fight,
Yeah, we gotta do it quick.
she was 20, so she got 40% in. Let's see.
Like, goes his momentum, so we gotta do it quick. It's done. No.
Nice.
She got 40% in about 30 seconds.
Come back.
I'm hard
That's
shielding.
decent, but let's say that she has even more, even better aim. Better,
Nice, guys.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Leave us.
She can farm a lot more.
I need help.
Here.
Yo, G Grandy,
Point here.
My shield's down. My shield's down.
how's your day so far?
Zarya's out of position.
I couldn't get
Back
it.
up,
Never mind.
Back up.
Oh, that was bad bubble. Sorry.
Guys, let me get high ground quick. Give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, bye, that's all.
Watch your line's getting back.
Be careful as Zarya because you're a bit far forward. Your Reinhardt is too passive in my opinion, so when you use your self bubble, you have to call it out as well.
Ate it.
Nice.
Nice.
Otherwise, you might get caught off.
Wait, dude, whoa.
I grab.
Oh,
Demon,
They're shattered.
so hard.
They're all shattered.
I can't even see. It's too much happening on the screen. My day is pretty good.
We've eaten 3 grabs this game.
I know. It's fucking
500
We
hours
are
Ryan
on the
for
third VOD
yourself.
of the day.
That's pretty
Here's
sad.
the VODs.
Alright. Alright, get
And,
Wait, also, high
uh,
ground to make sure you can
yeah.
beam
Back
out.
up. Back up. Back
Good
up.
day so far.
Roll on high ground, so know that.
They're gonna have the shatter stun. I'm gonna
I
try
have
to
shatter again. I have shatter again.
I have shatter stun too.
We gotta
Hold
do
on, I don't have it. I don't have it just yet. I don't have it just yet.
I bomb.
I'm buying this.
Purple.
I saw right side.
Huge.
Try and wall ride as well a bit, so you are in the air versus shatter.
Ryan one.
I'm gonna have grab.
Yeah, I can't spectate first person in goats.
Real good.
Say this will be a good. Dude, this.
Okay, so you guys held it, but I think if you just plan ahead, like before Scrim, just plan out some default strat positions, I mean, some setups, not like the sneaky Reinhardt setup, more like alt combos where you are gonna grab. Think about what's the most normal route for a team to walk when they attack, or for them when they defend and want to go in on you, like versus you, versus the teams you practice or you might face in tournaments in open. And then you plan your small setups around that. Basically, you create this playbook and you just learn the playbook, and then you call it out during the match or during the scrim, and you want to use the scrim then to refine whatever you have decided to practice, instead of just reacting to whatever you see. Because if you keep reacting to whatever you see, you get better at reacting, but it's gonna be hard to understand why you're losing sometimes. It's gonna be hard to win against a team that plays fundamentally better than you, but you're still gonna have firepower, so to say, by being the ones that react. No, by being the ones. I don't know a word for this, but it's like when a widow pops off, for an example. That's sort of how the team will develop, and you're gonna have super high highs and then low lows. But if you want consistency, you should plan outside of the scrim more. And there's some feedback for you guys here to pick from. So, is there any questions, by the way, in chat? Send in more vods, by the way, Cheesy.